Hello, this is Stuart, Hear Me, See Me podcast, and today I've got the first person other than the lovely Lena Headey who's come back for a second visit.
Oh, wow.
This lovely lady has been on my mind ever since we first spoke. I can't believe her bravery, her fortitude, and what just a wonderful human being she is. Today I'm speaking to Jodie Keegans. Hello, my darling.
Hello, you're right.
I'm good.
Lovely seeing you again.
I know.
We're still in lockdown.
I'm just checking. The record is, yes, we are recording.
Yeah. After last night, I didn't mind, that was funny.
So let's pretend you've never been on, and let's
Okay.
get straight into you tell me and everyone else your story.
Okay, so shall I say how we met as well?
Yeah.
We met down in London before we managed to,
London.
London, where we scraped through lockdown. And so I was guest speaking at the hair and beauty charity ball. And so I just was doing my stuff. And I met Stuart down there. So then we were sat and having a nice old chat at a table when we was allowed to sit at tables.
Yeah.
We was allowed to have food inside and drink.
Yeah.
Didn't know what was going to happen.
No.
So we was having a lunchtime in London, and then it just all went wrong.
Yeah.
So so we met there, and my name's Jodie, and I'm a survivor of high-risk domestic abuse. I was with my ex-husband for 13 years. So mine was not a short period of time, mine was a long period of time, so it was very quite drip-fed. And basically, he ended up, we were together 18 years. We had the isolation part at the very start, and then it slowly got worse to a point where it got to like physical assaults, and that would have been 2016 when I had my first physical assault. Lots of stuff happened in that period, but basically at Christmas 2017 he tried to kill me. So I was assaulted over 2 days with a rolling pin and stamped on, hit, bit, and I was literally left in my house, and I managed to escape with my 3 children. Now, a big thing with my story is that my daughter at the time was 5 years old, and she told school that Daddy was hurting Mummy. So school listened. School's fantastic. They listened, and then went and sought help. And then social services got involved. They was trying to see us, but my ex-husband is a big knob, to be quite honest, and he wouldn't, let anybody, see. Yeah, is a piece of work. So they ended up going to court. So there was all this evidence. There was one of my neighbours as well had also reported what they had seen bruises on me, and shouting as well. You could hear shouting like apparently five houses down, so they could like say it word for word what was being said. And I was on a terrace street, so it was like 5 blocks down. And so it got to December the 22nd, and we was in court. I should say, I've flipped stuff. We was in court, and he got told, this was family court, that he had to leave the house. And he said, this was in family court, he says, yes, I will leave. And then he said to me, he was like, I'm not leaving, I'm not going anywhere. So I'm thinking, oh God. And then we ended up, like social workers would come round, he would hide, run out the back door. And then it got to the Friday, and he was having to see the children in the contact centre and pretend to the kids, but they hadn't seen Dad. So that happened in the contact centre. So he saw him in the contact centre, and he basically completely lost his marbles, because that was when the control had gone, where he was having to see the kids. So he, on that evening, he took out a rolling pin from the drawer and started battering me at 9 o'clock at night with a rolling pin. He only stopped when he was tired. I had to then go into I was absolutely an absolute mess, on top of all the previous breaks that I had because I had a lot of broken bones, but I didn't know what I actually had. And then it ended up being what did I end up doing then? One of the things that my ex-husband wanted to do was we had to sleep downstairs in the living room, me and the 3 children, because he wanted to know where he was all the time. So I was having to sleep on the floor in the living room. So I went into my little bed, makeshift bed on the floor in the living room, and I just went to sleep. And then the next day, I remember that he just said, this was 9 o'clock in the morning on the 23rd of December 2017. He said, get up and get in this kitchen. So I'm thinking, yeah, I know what's going to happen here. So I went into the kitchen, and then he continued to beat me with a rolling pin again and assaulting me. On top of that, I managed to get out at that point because the police came, and he'd just been upstairs in the bedroom. He'd just assaulted me by hitting me numerous times in the bedroom. I was going to I had no mobile phone. I've got to stress that. I had no communication. I wasn't allowed to see my family, my parents. I didn't see friends. So I had no support network, nothing. I wasn't allowed to work as well. So I was trying to, even though I was in a completely beaten state, I wasn't feeling very well. That turned out I was dying, and because you just have no energy. And then I went into I was going to write on a piece of paper because I was upstairs at this point, and I had to get myself ready. And he said, and one of the things that I really mastered really well was covering my bruises with makeup, because I'm a makeup artist and I could cover bruises. But when you're in such a state where you've completely, like, I had 95% bruising at that time, I can't cover that. I mean, yeah, I've got a lot of makeup, but not that much to do anything.
Yeah.
So I ended up, I was going to go into the, what I was going to do was I was actually going to write on a piece of paper in red lipstick, SOS, call the police, and put it up at the window. But then he spotted it. But then I looked out the window and nobody was in. Typically Saturday, normally get people out. No one was bloody in, were they? So I thought, right. So I crawled myself back, and then there was a knock at the door, and that was the police. So I went downstairs, and he was behind me. I always remember his breath behind me, and then he ran out, and that was the last I saw of him. So he went out the back door. I went to the front door and ended up, made sure the back door was locked, went to the front door, opened it up, the police was there. So let the police in. And then I became in, and it must have been a really random situation because I just walked in. I did look great because I looked more like a corpse. And I said to the children, please, can you go upstairs? And they was like, okay. I was like, playing Xbox. So they were like, okay, cool. I went back into the kitchen, made sure it was locked again, and then went back into the dining room. And I just started taking my cardigan off, which I had on, and just said, I think I'm a victim of domestic violence. And that point was the first time I actually admitted to myself that that's what it was. I didn't even know anything about it. I knew nothing. I had no knowledge of domestic abuse at all. Even though it's on the TV, it didn't even sink in or anything. I just thought that it was normal relationship, that was it. And then the 2 police officers who was there, Nikki and Janine, they ended up saying, oh my God, this is like the worst thing that we have seen, for all, like, in my 18-year history, career. So what ended up happening then, they said, where's his pass? Do you know what it looks like? And I was like, well, yeah, trying to describe him, should I say? And I was like, got his passport. So I gave him his passport. And basically I live in South Yorkshire, and all of Doncaster Police was looking for him. And this was on the 23rd, day before Christmas Eve. So I got out of the house, and then it turns out I only had 20 minutes before I was going to die because of due to all what I had, all the bruising. Because what actually happens is that when you have a lot of bruises, your body releases a toxin, which is to sort of repair yourself. But at that point, your liver and kidneys are failing. So I had really bad high risk of organ failure, and that was actually part of where my body was shutting down when I wasn't feeling very well. So I ended up spending I actually spent Christmas in hospital My children at that point was going to get relocated. So they've just literally seen my dad kill my mother, pretty much. And then the children were going to get taken away to, it was Derbyshire, I believe, that they were going to go to. So, and it doesn't, because I've got 3 children, it doesn't mean that they was all going to go together because of space. So literally they were just going to get like, see that and then get swept away. And then, but luckily it came over on the intercom that they had actually found him and arrested him. So they arrested him. And then I got took to a hospital. And then they put me on a drip, and you know, because that was what I needed, like some kind of antidote or some special big medical thing. I don't know. I actually never knew what breaks I had, but I actually had a MRI scan that day, and in the end, it turns out that these were all new and old, new and old breaks. So I had 9 broken ribs, 6 spinal fractures, a broken leg, a broken arm. Because my arm's actually bent. I've got a tattoo to like cover it, but yeah, my arm's a bit bent because I wasn't allowed to, you know, have any excess in medical help. A broken shoulder. He had ripped my ear off, and I had to glue my ear back on with semi-permanent eyelash glue. Thank you, sound system. That was really helpful. And then I also got a big scar on my face. I'm covering up with makeup as much as I can, but there was a big scar on my face where he punched my face and my face split, and I had to glue my face back, my cheek back there with instant nail glue. It didn't work out right well, to be honest, you know, the nail glue, but it was to keep it together as much as I could do. That's the only thing when you're doing like your home, you know, trying to home surgeries in theory. Yeah, so and then I went to hospital. I was 5 days in hospital, and then I came out, and then we ended up. It was then January, and then my ex-husband, his name was Scott, he requested bail twice. So at that point, they said, you need to move. You need to like go, you know. And I'm like, oh, for God's sake, you know. And literally, I was getting that phone call from court because he was appearing in court by video link, whether or not he was allowed to get, you know, bail or not. But previously, it also he'd had a visit from my social worker, and he actually told social workers that he was going to, when he comes out, he's going to come and kidnap the children. So I got told over the phone, like once he got out of prison and done that interview, so we were just like, we've got to let you know that he's threatening to kidnap the kids here. And we're like, right, that's not, really don't want to hear this. And yeah, so we'd threatened to, but yeah, so it was all literally on that thing of they said, you've got to like escape, you've got to go. I literally got that phone call, and then they said, no, he's not got bail. So I was like, phew. Then I get a phone call the next day. Oh, he's gone for it again. So you get it twice. I was like, damn it. So I had all that going off. But that was starting in January. So 2018 started off a bit 2020 really. And for me. And then we ended up going through that whole court thing, you know. The charges kept getting higher and higher. I did an interview, and one of the things that I didn't know was it was 1991 where it became illegal for you to rape your wife. Apparently the first conviction was 1992. And I just presumed that, I didn't know that you could actually get raped, you know, by your husband, that it was like an offence, you know. I did not know that. So I had an interview, and we ended up getting an extra about 7 charges on him. And they said, we've got him for rape and sexual assault here after having a police interview. In the end, there was like 18 charges against him. So one of the things that he did was, there was multiple rapes, and then also he'd actually raped me with the rolling pin he tried to kill me with, and a cucumber as well. It was actually quite weird, actually, because it was only the other day that I was actually having, I'd go for my routine smear test, and they actually found loads of scarring, you know, from the smear test, and that's there. So I didn't even know this. So I only found out the other day that I've still got scarring there from, you know, because you wouldn't see it, would you? Yeah, so that ended up happening. And then we went through the whole Crown Court process. That started in August, bank holiday weekend it was, in August 2018, that was. Then what happened, we was all told that we was expecting that he'd probably get 6 to 10 years. You know, that's what we were looking at, you know, and then he does half sentence. So, but just see what happens. Went for the Crown Court at Sheffield, and then when it came to it, he got found guilty of the rape and sexual assaults. He pleaded guilty to the violence, all the different, because there was all sorts. I mean, every day there was something. So there were just also anything would just set him off going mad, and I just can't even. It just got to the point. There's so many just different. I mean, I could be here for 2 days telling you stories. Do you know what he'd lost his shit over? And then it was all my fault, and it never was. So we ended up getting. So it was in Crown Court, and then we ended up getting the sentencing. So the sentencing was 18 years, and I was just like, wow, really? Do you know? And like my CID who worked on the case, Stephen Barnes, he was like, right, he's like 18. I was like, 18 years, and he was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, didn't think that. I mean, like everyone was shocked, and I didn't know that I only had a 5% chance of winning that case. They never told me. It was only when I literally, I didn't know much about it. I'm glad I went in blinded, but I didn't know. I literally in the police car coming back and be like, do you realise what you've done? I was like, no, like you've won a massive court case. I was like, well, I'm bloody glad I did, because it's a nightmare, this. And so you kind of think that one that court case is finished, but it stops. No, it doesn't. Domestic abuse carries on and carries on. It's like the never bloody ending story. Because by that time as well, we had a house together, so we had a mortgage, and he refused to sign the house sale. So the house ended up going into repossession. So I lost the family home. I was made homeless with my 3 children. So technically I'm homeless, but I live with my parents. So I'm not on streets, and I'm not on streets. I'm in a house, so everyone's safe. And then I also had to go bankrupt as well, because the debts, it was because of the house going under, but also debts what was in joint names. So like your mortgage, council tax. I was having to pay his share of his debts which were just singly in his name, like the loans, what have you. They just got written off, because when you spoke to them, they said, oh well, it's there's no chance of him paying it, so we'll just write it off. But then I got his debts, and I think in the end it was something like £95,000 of debt that I was in. So I had to go bankrupt. And then you think, okay, this is it, you know, I'm gonna have to, you know, surely there's nothing else that can happen. And then it rocks up every year then, it seems, because he requests to ask for the children. So I had that in the March of 2018, requesting for me to take the children into prison to see him, which is not a chance. And then he does it again in November, just in 2020. So, and it turned, I have massive court orders. So I have a non-molestation order that doesn't run out. That's basically a court order, like a protection court order, and a restraining order. So he's not allowed to contact me. So I've got 2 big court orders, and he's still a dick and still keeps getting through him. Because there's a clause on there which says that he's allowed to contact the kids, ask for contact to the kids. And it's like, I won't even give him a cactus to look after, let alone see a child. So, and one thing, it just frustrates me. So this clause needs to like come out, which I got advised. Now I went to my solicitors last month to find out how much it was going to cost, and we got £1,300 plus VAT, plus £500 for every hearing afterwards. It's like, I'm not going to keep paying, you know, for the fact that he's done this, and it's never going to, you've got to put a stop to it at some point. It's just ridiculous. So, yeah, so that was my delightful. So, and one of the things I have to say is because, surprise, surprise, I have post-traumatic stress disorder from all this. So I've been in therapy 3 times. And yeah, so I've had 3 lots of different mental health inputs. And with my PTSD, I like, there's so much, but you sort of can't keep in it's like all over the place. So please excuse me, it's just on crackers, but in a good way. You
Jodie,
just
Jodie, it was no easier to listen to this time than the second time round. It really was. It brings out, the trouble is with it brings out, it's quite upsetting. You know, I've got daughters. I've got 4 daughters. I've got 2 grandchildren. Things have happened in the past as well. It's so vile and evil that people
oh yeah, it was
do these things.
yeah.
It's control. The whole thing is about control.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, your lack of control, their own lack of control, that makes them seek out so much to control someone else in that way. There's a couple of things that it brought to me. You know, sorry to take you back, but taking you back to that day before it finished.
Yeah.
The day, and you said that he was beating you with a rolling pin, and for not for a minute, you know.
No, continuously, like 2 hours.
If someone beats someone, you know, to be beaten for a minute seems like an hour, but yours was for hours.
Yeah.
The fact that when this is what really got to me, how narcissistic and psychopathic this person must be.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's absolutely nuts. He's completely, you know, completely mad. Yeah.
He didn't stop until he was tired.
Yeah.
Literally.
You know, the weirdest thing as well, this is really creepy as well, but I found out that after he'd done all this, so he'd like literally killed me, he went to his family member's house and acted like nothing had happened. It was completely normal. They said that he was just like, but laughing loads. And one of the things that I found from speaking to a lot of people is I noticed his laugh changed, and his laugh resembled, do you know the Joker from Batman?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded just like that. That were just a bit freaky, that. And when he got pissed off and all, one thing I noticed is his accent changed. It changed to a London accent. So it was a bit weird, that. Yeah, it was odd. Yeah, it's like changed to like
my dad was Scottish, and
really odd.
My dad was Scottish. He had a bit of an accent. Started swearing. If he lost his temper, started swearing, he went to the most broad Scotch accent. You know,
weird. Yeah, it was really, yeah. He had relations in the family that were London, but you know, when it came to that, it wasn't. It was like Warwickshire way. So so that's a bit weird actually when I think more on it. What weird thing happened?
Well, another thing that I remember that you did mention this time, and I know you said there's so many instances of it but there was one you told me about before was your dog, your pet.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah, he killed the puppy. We had a 10-week-old puppy, and he killed my daughter's dog. And I just heard him beating her in the kitchen. And he says, whatever you do, don't go in. And that was because the dog he took her for a walk and then ran away in the park. And I don't blame her, to be quite honest. She was thinking, I'm getting out of here. And he beat her. And he just went to me, come in kitchen. And I was like, okay. So I went into the kitchen. And the puppy was just laid on the worktop. No, it was laid on the floor, should I say? And I was like, "Oh my God, you know what the fucking hell have you done?" And it was just like, "Well, I didn't think it was going to happen." I was like, "What do you think's going to frigging happen?" And I put her on the worktop and trying to, calm it, trying to sort her out, and she was really heavily breathing. And then he said, and it was really weird. He went, bring up. She literally stopped breathing in front of me, like she was gasping for it, and then she just stopped breathing. And I was like, and I just went, "You've killed her. What? You fucking killed her." And he just went, "Can you bring her back to life?" I was like, "You what? If you just said, what do you think I am, Jesus? No, it's not going to happen. And I was just like, no, that is not going to happen. Jesus, what do you think I have? You know, special superpowers or something? And that was the whole thing. A lot of the stuff what he did was really unrealistic. And it continued even when he was in prison, unrealistic stuff. And you just thought, are you actually serious? But in his head, he believes it. It's really, really like messed up. It's absolutely. But yeah, that was something that I hate. I don't like talking about. I'm completely fine with you, but it's something because in fact that's something that I've chosen to not tell my children, so my children don't know about it. Yeah, no, it's fine. Honestly, don't worry about it. It's just one of those things, you know. It's but now it's I've just make excuses, should I say? So, but end of the day, but we'll find out at some point when I feel. But I think we've gone through enough without having to know that. But yeah, that was awful. That was. I get haunted by Lily, the dog, because when I see one that looks like her, and I always think, God, you know, yeah, and that really does. And that's the thing, like when you're post-traumatic stress disorder, you see things and you think it's them. So like you have triggers. So for me, my triggers are people in navy blue hoodies. I have it with the song Human by Rag and Bone Man, because he used to sing and dance to that one. So I absolutely hate that song when it comes on. I have to turn it over. I don't like black Mercedes cars. That's one. Because that was a car that he had, who he drove. That was actually the second thing that I sold. I sold the car when he got arrested and left, and he was in prison. So I got rid of his car, sold it, got it sold it. I mean, he loved his car. His car was his pride and joy. But I sold it and really got a really crap price for it. So I was really over the moon.
The only person to be pleased with a shit price.
I got crap price. It was really bad. Yeah, I think it was only about $2,000 or something like that. And it was really crap. It was worth $4,000. Got it off. And I broke the sunroof on it as well. By accident. That happened, like a little knob fell off, and I was like, oops, it's a good job he's not here. And then I got rid of his clothes as well. So I gave those to we had multiple house occupancy next door. So a lot of those were either just come out somewhere. So they got some nice designer clothes. Joe gave them some nice like DK wear stuff, so they were happy. Yeah. And then but then it was like he sent a letter, even rang up the solicitor saying that he wants his car. Why are you going to have a car in prison? It don't make no sense. What are you going to do? Ride it around the car park? Yeah. And yeah, he bought a car, and I was like, no, you know, and it wasn't even, he hadn't even paid for it. He actually owed money on it to that car, which he had lent off my parents. So he didn't even own it. It was like, it was money that it was owed. And then the other thing, the weirdest one, this is really weird. We had this big, beautiful 7-foot dining table with 6 chairs, big, like really heavy one. And he wanted that, the dining table, for his cell, it felt like. And it's like, because I just got a phone call from the solicitor saying, he's requesting dining table. I was like, what? Do you know that it's 7 foot with 6 chairs? And they're like, what's the point? So I gave that away to my friend, and she loves it. And yeah, so it's really weird. But yeah, and stuff doesn't make sense. I mean, that's the whole thing of mine. You've got to laugh. I mean, I have to laugh. That's the thing. It's awful, the story. It's absolutely horrendous. How I deal with it is that I have to laugh about it, or I just chuck and cry, or just crack up, because even more, because that's the only way you can deal with it, and try and turn anything negative into a positive. That's what I do. And it's like, now I absolutely love doing guest speaking, like when I met yourself. Yeah. And I've been really fortunate to guest speak at different conferences in my hometown. I had one booked for 2020, but that went all belly up with COVID. And I've met some absolutely I've got a completely different life now. I mean, I'm in a new relationship. We've been going out it'll be 3 years in April, actually. And then, like, I can go places, I can do what I want, buy what I want within reason, within my budget. wear what I want. Do you know, if I want to wear makeup, I can wear makeup. If I want my hair different, if I just want to colour it a different thing. Or because that was one thing, it stopped me from like colouring my hair as well. It's like it moan and to me that's something that a woman wants to do. I do. I'm awful for it. I change it all the time. It's been red for a year. I've done quite well. But yeah, and you want to like go out or see people or go to anything, and life was horrible. You just couldn't. You just got to the point where it was so slow. And this is why it's really interesting with like lockdown. So yeah, we're at lockdown like 3 here. And to me, it's very mild to what I used to kind of have. It's very similar, but I used to get like assaulted and stuff like that and raped and what have you during lockdown. So imagine like how we are now in lockdown. This is very quite similar to people who's experiencing domestic abuse who were not allowed out, or control, like where you're told you can't go out anywhere. So, well, this is by your partner. So it's kind of like that snippet into that life of what it's like. So it's quite weird, but so in theory, like this whole with the isolation lockdown, I'm kind of used to it. So it don't, it's very similar to what I had before. Not like that was worse, don't get me wrong, but it's like on that like kind of spectrum. So it's kind of it's kind of used to it, to be fair. So
but it's the thing is about this is generally what I've found, because I've spoke to a few people about this subject now, and I've spoke to many when I've been doing my work, like I've come across many women and men, victims of
oh yeah,
abuse,
definitely.
Men as well,
Maybe
victims.
they upset me, the male stories as well.
Sorry,
The male stories really upset me when I've
it's
been supporting
awful,
people.
but
It
then
was horrible.
I was a victim of abuse when I was a child, and that was a man, so
Yeah, it really upset me, I
it's
find. All of them upset
it,
me, but
it,
those really, really upset me.
yeah, it did, and it had terrible power over me for many years. And then that was the thing I thought was why I used to overdo it with the drink and the drugs and all those other things. And I sort of come to realise that was an excuse, because it was a good excuse to be.
I can
Get out
see
of
how
hand.
people would do that. Definitely, like how
Yeah,
you said that you can go as a coping mechanism. Now, I
yeah,
had a coping. Yeah, I do smoke, but one of the coping mechanisms that I had was education. It sounds really geeky, this on every level,
yeah, but you are.
but I love education. It's really sad, so but I want to learn what the bloody hell had actually happened. So I was like research. So I was like, I went on like to a domestic abuse course called the Freedom Program, and that's for survivors of understanding basically what actually happened. So I went on that course, and I didn't leave. They ended up saying, do you want to? So I ended up becoming a co-facilitator on that course, delivering it. And then I actually went down to Oxford and did my training there for, not like Oxford University, I'm not like that, no, just a little place. I'm going to say, don't think I've gone to Oxford, because I'm not. So I ended up going there, and so I took a couple of days down. So I'm qualified as a trainer, a facilitator for that programme. Done loads of domestic abuse courses. I've done my education and training level 3, so now I'm a qualified trainer. And me and my partner in crime, Suzanne, we are. I know, yes, she's doing well, Suzanne. We get the phone calls. We phone each other every single day, and it's like, so what have you been doing? Well, been cleaning today. You watched it. You've been cooking. So yeah, we get those. But yeah, so this is why one of the things that we always found was, and when I did my first lot of training, like education, I couldn't understand why when we was at school we used to do like sex education, about gambling, drugs, alcohol, but why the hell did we not do about domestic abuse? Because that would have saved me, or anybody else. And when I've spoken to different people, everyone's like, well, yeah, I wish I'd learned about it, because that would have helped me. So one of the things that I'm really, really pro for is teaching in schools about domestic abuse, any sector. I mean, like with hairdressing and beauty. It's really sad because I know quite a few people who are hairdressers who it sounds really awful. We've kind of got this like magnet for, like, it sounds really bad, this, don't take it wrong way, for like abusers, because I'm like in that category of like that profile of what an abuser would want. And I think because of that like, we normally like really chatty people. We, you know, we like to look after ourselves, and then they completely split that. I mean, I never used to. I mean, I look rough as hell. I did before. I wasn't allowed to wear makeup. You know, clothes. It would be an absolute mess. I wouldn't even speak. I mean, everyone's always said, "God can tell you got out of that," because I remember you never used to speak. You used to look at the floor all the time, and I just never spoke. Now you can't shut me up. Sorry, you need to kick me off this Zoom as well. Just kick me off if you've got another one booked in. Do what I like.
No, you're fine.
And so I ended up, so it was like the education to me. So this is why me and Suzanne, who's my friend and business partner, we've been in process, we've been doing training about domestic abuse, but from a real life point of view. So from survivors who, well, like me and her, who's gone through it. So that's what we've been planned, and this is what we was all exciting year last year. COVID came,
and then it
delayed it.
we will at the end. I mean, what I'll do, I'll put the links on for everything. Give me everything, every link you've got that you want me to put on. We'll put that on at the end.
Yeah, that's right. I don't think I've got any at the moment.
We'll sort something out.
We'll
I'll add them as and when they come. But it's interesting what you said about teaching children, and it would have saved you.
Yeah, and it's like my daughter now.
Yeah,
she's so smart. I mean, she's like 8, going on 18, and she just wants to get rid of like bullies in the world. And she'll say, you know, this isn't right, this isn't acceptable. And she was 5, and she knew that her dad should not be doing. And she had no education; she just knew it wasn't right. And I went and told. I mean, she's my guardian angel, my daughter, because if my daughter hadn't, you know, done that, then and this is the thing with children, they're like little spies in the house. So, and that they can learn that. I mean, everybody should be taught about it because it's such a big killer. Do you know? I mean, before, like, that's the thing that really kind of frustrates me, because last time when we spoke, when lockdown was like first kicking off, we had like lots of, you know, nice little statistics and stuff, and I've gotten on because but it's all kept quiet. It just doesn't seem to, that doesn't seem to have filtered through about statistics of, you know, domestic abuse and how much it's risen. I know it has, but I don't know anything, any updated ones.
No,
so
that's interesting, because I think as well that we all know, we all can imagine that's gone up. It's gone through the roof, probably.
Oh yeah.
Suicide has gone up.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's hard to get any specific statistics on domestic abuse, suicide. It doesn't seem to be.
Where they're gone.
Sort of wonder: is it being held back? Are they frightened because it escalated so much? It looks bad. I don't know. But
well, this is it. I mean, it was 1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 men before.
Yeah.
That was before COVID. That was actually quite older statistics. So why do we not know this now? Do you know, it's a bit mad, isn't it?
1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 men.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Take that in. Anyone listening, take that in.
My favourite exercise is when you go into a big, like, say we're in the supermarket, because we can take supermarkets because that's the only place we're allowed to go now.
Yeah.
Or at school, but we can't do it at school. You think you're in a busy place, and you look and you think, okay, so it affects 1 in 4 women, 1 in 6 men. All those, when you think about it, there's going to be someone affected in there. And I always found that a really fascinating, you know, exercise to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like there was a lot of like there's a really well-known campaigner, a lady called Rachel Williams, who's a hairdresser, and she's fantastic. I've been on quite a few of the Zooms, and I met her down at her conference. She's fabulous, and she was in Wales, and she got shot. So her story is really, really mad story as well, but she got shot, and she was in a hairdresser's. So she's does a lot of campaign work. She's alive, and very much alive and kicking. And but yeah, that's a hairdresser, and a lot of hairdressers seem to become, you know, victims of domestic abuse and beauty therapists. People in our industry, same as there was a lady called Holly Gozzard as well, and she was stabbed in the salon as well, and it's gets me in the workplace. It's quite a well-known. There was a story of it as on Crime Channel. So I
Well,
like a lot. I love
I,
real life crime.
it's only my opinion of what I know of things that I should imagine it's something to do with the empathy.
Mm,
The empathy that naturally that beauticians, hairdressers have got as an industry. We tend to
yeah,
be drawn to that industry because of the
yeah.
empathy that we've got. Now,
There's a lot.
a narcissist will, that is the prey for them,
Mm,
because it's someone who is willing to accept and is willing to want to see the best and is willing maybe to want to help. And
exactly.
they play the victim
Yeah,
before
yeah,
you become the victim, you know.
yeah.
And it's a
It's
very slow
mad.
process. It's not like switched on overnight. I should imagine that your experience was as well. That they
Mine was
seem to
really
be very
slow. Mine was like
charming
carbon
at the
monoxide
beginning.
poisoning.
Yeah,
Mine was really slow.
yeah,
But then on the flip side, Suzanne, she was like 6, 7 months.
yeah,
And then the other people. So don't always think that it's going to be, but our outcomes are really similar. But yeah, so it can happen really fast or very, very slow.
yeah,
So, but you still kind of get to the same end
yeah.
and
And
conclusion.
it will go that far. And the thing is, they tend to be very charming people. They tend
Oh
to
God,
be
yeah.
manipulative.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. They're not never going to be like, yeah, but all, I mean, ridiculously charming. I mean, I remember meeting my ex-husband for the first time, and oh my God, he was like Prince Charming. One of these, he'd open up the doors, you
Yeah,
know, oh, you look fantastic, and you know, not saying that everyone's like this because they're really not. But yeah, really, really nice, really charming. And the way you think, oh God, yeah, isn't he nice? And Phil seemed to be quite good looking as well. And I mean, I hate his face. I don't like looking at him. I don't look at him and then think, oh yeah,
yeah.
he's fit. No, no, I just look at him and I just think,
Justified
I hate
it.
you. But yeah, they've always seemed to have got this, I don't know, it's really weird, like almost charismatic. You know, I mean, like there was that Netflix show, You, and
Yeah,
how he was in that was like a, yeah, like a domestic abuse one. And they always kind of have this, I don't know his kind of way, but it's really odd. It's really strange.
mm,
And yeah, but then they're very different, but like your flip side, because then like Bobby could love it, and then they're like anything will just flip them over the edge and just go absolutely and do horrendous, horrible things. So you just can't even get your head around it. But you don't, and it's not, and you can't look at people and think that's going to be one, that's going to be one. Oh, he looks too nice to be one. And then a lot of the people who like said about when it came to my ex-husband, they'd say, oh God, but he looks such a nice, you know, he looks such a nice man, you know. I never expected this, you know. It was always, he'd always just talk to you in the street.
yeah,
Joe was a lovely chap. I mean, I did when we got I worked with South Yorkshire Police and did a story called Jodie's Story, and that was on their Facebook page. It went out, and I ended up doing a lot of articles. Well, it went really well, and then I had like journalists wanting me to do some work with them. So I worked with like Daily Mirror, and then it just ended up going ridiculous amounts of places, and it went viral around the world, all sorts of different places. It ended up. So if you Google like Jodie Keegans, then it comes up, and there is some pictures on there, but they're not the proper crime scene ones. Because what really pisses me off is the fact that I have crime scene ones, which are horrible pictures, but they won't print them because apparently they're too scary for people. Do you know, they're not, do you know, they've got to. And then also, like, when I was reading all the articles, it very sugar coated my story.
yeah,
And this is why I love telling it myself, because I can say how it is, because
yeah,
they say it's got to be palatable for the reader to read.
yeah,
And it's like, yeah, but it's real life, it really happened, you know. I ain't lying about this shit, you know. This actually happened. And that's really, really frustrated me. This is why I love being able to do stuff myself and actually say, do you know, exactly what it is.
yeah.
So
But you need to hear it. I mean, it's
oh
awful
yeah,
to
not
listen to.
sugarcoating it.
It
Yeah.
it's awful to
Sorry.
listen to, but but it needs to be heard for people to
Yeah.
take it as. I mean, it must be one of the highest sentences someone in this situation's got.
Yeah, it was really, really high. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah,
How, because I didn't expect it. I really didn't. I mean, I always remember I was just like, I always remember we got the sentence, and like me and like we were just couldn't believe it. And then like one of the things I did as well is that when I was in Crown Court, I never went behind screens. I refused because I'm a nightmare, and because I wanted to. But yeah, well, I really wanted to prove a point.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to make out to show that I wasn't scared, and that I wanted that closure. I needed that closure.
Yeah.
So, because I hadn't seen him, so it was literally, you'd see me dead on the floor being a corpse. And then it was so it was like 9 months before 8-9 months since I'd seen him. So I thought, right, so looked around court, see what it was like. So I knew what court were going to be like, because they do like a visit where you can check it. And then so did the court, and then I ended up. So I said to him, I said, "Look, I don't want screens. I wanted to see him. I want him to, see what I look like now, just to piss him off, basically. Not like piss him off, but just to say, yeah, look, I ain't bothered,
Yeah.
And I remember going into court, and I knew where he was going to be sat. So he was in his like little dock thing, whatever, like little security bit where they can't run out, bench thing.
Yeah.
There's a special name for it, and I've forgotten what it's called. No, I don't know. Where all crims go. And so he was in that bit.
Dock.
And
the dock.
That's the one. Oh, hold on a minute. I was in a dock and all, but
oh yeah.
Oh no, because he ended up in a dock as well.
He's in the dock.
I don't know. We need to get a big like Google court things. And so I walked in, and I knew where it was, and I made sure that my hair looked fabulous, my makeup looked fabulous, I looked really nice what I was wearing. I just walked in and just looked straight at him as to say, look, what's going to happen now? And I just walked in, and I knew what. And then when they were playing like the video, like where I'd done a video interview, I had seen it like a week before, just to remind me, just to have a look. And every time there was a bit which I knew that really pissed me off, I just looked at him and I was like. And I just like did that, and I was just like, really, I would just like look, stared, and just look back, and just thought like, yeah, screw you. So I did that. Yeah, I just really. So then, so that happened. So so did my old court thing, got cross-examined and all that, and I actually really enjoyed court. I found it was. You get people who hate court. I actually found it really, really interesting because I like stuff like that. And then I was like up in public gallery, so then I could see, afterwards. So when it was like the reading out of the sentencing and stuff, one of the things, and I find this happens a lot when I watch all my crime stuff because I love all that stuff. There's no remorse. There's no remorse at all, and there wasn't. He was not bothered. Do you know when they said like 18 years and stuff? Literally, it's like he was like picking his nails. He had scabs on him, like some sketchy scabs. God knows what he's been doing there, but it was all scabby and horrible. And he wasn't bothered. I felt like I wanted to shout down to him and say, "Oi, listen, we're talking about you. Listen, because there's nothing there." He's really in, like, when you see it depicted and stuff, and they say there's nothing. It's like the eyes. That's really freaks me out. Because they always say that there's like evil behind the eyes, and there is. When you see like crime shows and they've got like the mugshot or something, the eyes, they're just dead behind the eyes, and they're all really similar, and they have no remorse. And he had no remorse. He wasn't bothered at all. And then like when we went 18 years, he was just like, and that was it. And I was like, oh, okay. And
what is he likely to serve? Is it normally about?
Well, it really pees me off this part. 18 years, he did. They take when he did a year on remand. So he's actually out Boxing Day 2026. So he does half sentence. So so when it was like this, and then like he's still asking for kids, and he's in his head he thinks he hasn't done anything wrong. He's an absolute pain in the arse, and this is the bit, it never goes away. It just never. I mean, I've kind of got accustomed now to this is just my life. It's just going to be. So when he comes out, it's one of the things that people, they do say, well, why don't you go into hiding? And I'm stubborn again. I don't want to, because why the hell should he mess my life up anymore? I've got, great friends, got amazing boyfriend, support networks. I've got my family, and I don't want that. I could have, doing really well, with my teaching, and then have to leave it because of him again. I mean, I ain't doing it. No, I can sob that. I'm
I
not
can
doing it.
see
I
why
know.
you would, but I really admire that you've taken that stance and saying no.
Yeah, because I'm just like, no, I'm not having this anymore. Do you know, how far can you go? It's just got to a point now where it just takes a piss, to be quite honest. And you just
Yeah,
think, well, no, that's line, under, go away, end of, like, leave. And I mean, like, it makes me laugh because, like, when he's requesting to see kids, it's like, you're a registered sex offender, you're on sex offenders register. If you had, because I know that if he had kids, they'd get them removed, but so why do you think it's okay to see, like, your biological kids? No,
yeah.
because all the harm that you did, and no, it's not
So
going to happen.
the thing is, if you're a rapist,
Yeah.
if it happens to be your wife that you've
Mm,
raped,
yeah.
why is that any less than being a rapist? Because
Yeah,
it's
exactly. I'm going to say they just think, oh, yeah, it's all right. No, it's not. Really, is it all right? It just really, really winds you up, to put it politely. And yeah, it does. And it's like, but then it's like, because I'm a bit of a geek with my research, I like researching stuff through history and domestic abuse
yeah,
through history. And like, even in like the 1800s, we were still going through this. So like 1800s, it was still happening. And like now, it's still happening. How? It's ridiculous. And so many will not even go to court, because like CPS will not take it on.
no.
I was lucky that mine got took on because there was that much evidence, to be fair. But when it came to the rape and sexual assaults, that's a hard one to prove.
This is the
And
thing. How do you prove? How is there any evidence to prove that
mm,
after the event? That's why it's so good that that it was part of the conviction.
yeah, and it was like, because and it was only like really frustrating because the other day, like when I was having my smear and then found out that there's all scarring, I thought, God, that was evidence. Surely, if
Yeah,
that had been checked at the time, then you'd be able to see, and that would have been from like the rolling pin, sexual
yeah.
assault. So, sorry, it's gone a bit grim, right? But
No, it's
hey,
fine.
here's my life, God.
Yeah, I know.
And yeah, so it does, and you just sort of think it is really hard because in theory you kind of got that one, like, almost like one word over somebody else's.
Yeah,
And this is why they didn't want me to know that I only have 5% chance of winning. I
no.
mean, 5%, yeah. And the fact that so many people, like, will not get, like, they'll retract their, like, going to court, is they kept saying to me, look, please, please, just, like, go to court. I was like, of course I'm going to court. I'm standing, you're not going to leave me. I'm definitely going to court. And I loved it. And I'm just really strong-minded, really, really, I'm one of these people where once I get something in my head, then that's it, and I just not give up. And I was never going to back down from that.
This is why you're needed. This is why your work is needed so much. And
Mm.
we've really got to promote your work because you can come from a place of authority and authenticity that you really can help people who have been through this because you're so
Well, this is
strong.
it. You understand it as well.
Yeah,
And that's the thing you can, I mean, like, people will say, oh, because one of the things that really kind of upset me, what really kind of not upset, well, it did. It was a shame because, like, when it all went out in the media, people was like, got to a point where they didn't know whether they wanted to talk to me or not, whether they could talk to me, because it had all come out, like, literally, you Google it and it all comes up.
mm,
And people were just like, are we allowed to talk to you? Should we talk to you? And it's like, why would you not want to talk to me? Jesus, is just one of those things, I'm the most, like, ask me any question, not bothered,
yeah. I must
Yeah.
admit, from my
And it's
point of view,
weird.
when I met you in London, I was quite reluctant to come over. I can understand it. I was quite reluctant to come over and speak to you because
Yeah.
I didn't want to bother you. I
It's
didn't want to.
weird, isn't it?
I
No,
wanted
no, just.
so wanted to talk to you, but I so didn't want to bother you. And but you were so pleased that I'd come and spoke to you. That,
Do you know what,
like
as well?
immediately.
You met me at the best point because I'd lost my voice. And literally, when I was like,
Right, yeah.
literally, it was awful. I mean, literally, I could not speak. And I was like, I literally only did 5 minutes to what I normally do, because normally I like talk for like 25 minutes plus. And I was like, trying to talk. And I was like, and I like really had to hold my chest. I don't know why, because it was going to try, my voice would have come back.
Yeah.
And I was just like, trying to do my thing talking. and everyone's just, and I was just like, and it wasn't even, you know, to what my normal standard of ruthlessness of what it was, because I only had like 5 minutes off, and literally everyone's like, oh my god, that was amazing. And I always remember it was really weird because I was in London, and so like posh bit of London,
Yeah.
and so we was at the Hilton Hotel. So we got paid to, like, I got, you know, where they paid for you to go to Hilton Hotel. So like I had been to an Hilton before, so
Right.
I'm normally Premier in me.
I was
So,
on the tube on the way back to Essex. I didn't get an hotel room.
you know, oh, I did. I got that, and it was great. So I was like thinking, oh yes, this is like. I remember like giving you a goodie bag. Hey, it's just like being at Oscars. This, it's
Yeah.
great. And I remember thinking, and I was so nervous because it looked so fancy, and I thought, you know what? And I remember I was with my boyfriend, and I said to him, I'm really nervous, and I end up thinking that what I'm going to do is, if it ends up, you know, that they just hate it, then get your dinner, eat your dinner, because those mushrooms that's on it apparently are really expensive, but it's a nice dinner. Eat your dinner, and then we'll just go. And then we'll just grab a coffee and just leave and just like, because it's, and it wasn't, it was the opposite. I mean, I thought that people would be thinking, oh, it's just like, you kind of think that you get, like, typecast, not typecast, but you know, stereotypical, like,
Yeah.
oh, she's just a battered wife and that.
Yeah.
I always laugh and say, I've not done too bad for a battered wife.
Yeah.
And because it really bugs me when people call you a battered wife. They call you that in America, the battered woman shelter. It's like,
Yeah.
not very nice saying, is it?
Awful.
Awful, isn't it? Why? And it wasn't. Everyone was so lovely and really nice, and people kept coming up to me and talking to me, and I thought that were mad as hell. I was just like, wow, you know, this is, you know, insane. And I just kind of thought that you kind of be looked down on, and you wasn't. It was the opposite, and everyone was just like, wow, everyone, that was really good.
The whole
And
room.
that was a shock. Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
They did. They
I was
did.
like, oh my god, this is madness. I was like queuing to go to the toilet, and everyone would try to talk to me. Really, really funny.
Right.
Yeah, it's really odd, but no, and it was really nice that, and it just shows as well that you can go to different. I mean, with domestic abuse, it affects everybody.
Yeah.
Whether it's different nationalities, ages, race, you know, male, female,
Yeah.
everything. You know, it affects everybody. I mean, in theory, it affects animals because with what happens and stuff.
Yeah. Of course.
And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
does, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's really bad. You know, I've got a child peering at me. Sorry if it was
Go
off.
keeping it.
I'm
Yeah.
just gonna ignore him. And yeah, so it was really weird experiencing that.
Are you,
So
are you now? So you still at your mum and dad's?
yes,
So this is
yeah.
so. There's a few things we need to really try and get into people's minds that we've got to change. Now, the first thing, obviously, is this legislation, something that's got to be done, where you know that you've got to have more protection after you've been through this.
Oh yeah,
As
because
in
it's
with
just
the
mad at
children,
the
you know,
moment. You get nothing.
in prison for this heinous crime can
Yeah,
still be reaching out to get the children and all these things. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
they should forgo that. So that's one thing. Another thing is that someone who's been through everything you've been through, they surely can change the legislation around debt, because for you,
Yes,
that's
that
become
really winds me up.
yeah,
Yes, the financial, now that was the thing, because it was only just recently that financial was put into like financial abuse, economic abuse was
yeah,
put into the domestic abuse bill. So before, you know, it wasn't even recognised.
yeah,
And that was just like, I couldn't believe when this was happening. And then like the fact that with the house sale, um, he was literally controlling everything from behind the prison cell. And it's like, how, do you know, how is this happen? I mean, I had 4 house sales, and it fell through 4 times because he refused, and then the bank took it, and there was nothing that could happen, and
yeah,
that was just ridiculous. It turns out that the solicitors that I was using, they could have done a thing, could have forced a sale, but because I've got some dopey solicitors, they didn't even use that. So it turns out that they could have done that all the time, but hey ho, do you
yeah,
know, things are things.
yeah,
It happened, but yeah, and it's just frustrating, and the fact that we're chosen, like, it's us who's got to pay the debt.
yeah,
It's like, it just got ridiculous. I was like, come on, do you know,
yeah,
and anything, do you know, that was in, and like, one thing was like the gas bill. and the electric, that was in my name. So because we at the one point we only got a joint bank account a year or so before it all happened. And at that point, like I just like the bills would just come out of my bank, so I just set it up in my name, the electric bill. So then, because it's in my name, not his name, but joint names, I've got to pay the whole bloody electric bill, which was a couple of £1,000.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, for God's sake, again, something else. And it's like, but you can prove that he was living there, because of, I've got enough evidence to prove that he was living there, but no, won't take it into context. Yeah. So I had to go bankrupt. There was no option of not going bankrupt.
This is the ridiculous thing. So you've very, very nearly paid with your life, but then you pay with your financial security.
Oh yeah.
And then you pay for future security because of the fact of being a bankrupt is not as easy as people realise that it
affects jobs as well. That's the other thing,
Yeah.
And it's like at the moment, this is why I want to, be self-employed, because I'm, in all honesty, I've got my 3 children, bringing them up, and I'm not a really employable person, to where I was used to work before, and like you can, work and what have you, because I'm on my own with the 3 children. I mean, like my eldest is 15, he's older and stuff, but and then my youngest is 8. They've got schoolwork. I mean, we're in lockdown now. I mean, like homeschooling. Wow.
Yeah.
That is.
We had to do this at 5 o'clock. I forgot. I
know.
I did like 2, didn't I? I've got used to school teacher till 4.
I mean, I was a school teacher. Yes. I'm a dinner lady as well, and I'm a headmaster. So that's what I'm doing. I'm also student support student support officer as well. So I've got 4 job titles, because they do the panic, like with the kids. Like this at the moment, I'm lucky that that I'm not. It sounds awful, but I'm not employed, because I could not do this with the kids. With all this with lockdown and what have you, and even when they are at school, I've got to, for security reasons, I can't just get them to walk back home. I wouldn't trust it. I always want, besides security, to make sure that I'm the only, like me or my mum can only pick the kids up, or my dad, because if you never know that when he's in prison, he could send somebody after it. So there's always that security thing that you've got. Same as like if you're on social media, I've got to have my social media really high security. Because you can get random people, and you never know if it's links to him, because you don't know what technology they have in prison.
Yeah.
So that's what you've got to be careful of.
And that's the thing. I think that's why we all need to get behind you, and we need to lobby for things, and we need to get everyone, as many people as possible, to realise that that someone like you's protected. You're brave enough to stand out, so you should get protected. And also, like someone who's been through what you've been through, even half of what you've been through, should be protected against these other side effects of it.
Yeah, this is it, and it just feels like it's never ending, and it doesn't. I mean, like I've got the whole thing of when he comes out of prison, how far, that little girl. It was like I was actually sat on Christmas, on Boxing Day even, on my doorstep, and I was just sat there thinking, God, in 6 years' time, and then this, because of lockdown and stuff, like 2020 didn't really happen, not much really happened there, apart from when we went to London. And it's like that wasted time, because that's the thing with me. I don't know what's going to happen after 6 years. So like 2016, when it comes out, you just don't know what's going to happen. So I want to use this time, this 6 years of what's left. So it's almost like a sand. Do you know, like the little egg timer that you used to get with the sand?
Yeah.
The little timer thingy.
Yeah.
It's like that going through all the time, and then it's like you almost been. And then just thinking, God, I haven't got much left. But then there's all these restrictions. So this feels like it's wasting a lot. Because I do a lot of travelling. And, what I can, I'd like to go to, different places in England. And, I mean, I was trying so hard the end of last year to take my kids to Blackpool. And it ended up twice. Twice it got cancelled. And then it's got the kids where we're like, when you get the phone call of, they've got to isolate, we've come into contact, we're going to be off for 2 weeks. It's like, great. So just to do one little thing was a nightmare. Do you know, it just to the point where I just cancelled Blackpool. I was like, you know what, we're gonna have to do it next year because it's just too much. And so it's hard, do you know, and it's kind of like being, when you get that sentencing, yeah, it's good, but you kind of been faced with a terminal illness. So it's like you've been given, you know, like, yeah, that's the best way of describing it, because you think, you know what, I want to get this done, but we can't, you know, at the moment. And because when he's out, he can just rock up, you know, and even though I've got high restrictions, you know, like he's not allowed to come into like a certain area, but I mean, I live in quite a big town, so it covers quite a big way. And even if it ends up being like, say for instance, I was just in Tesco, and then he came up, and it's not breaking anything, it can just be there, but he knows everything, so you're going to be constantly in hiding, which is, and then like you do struggle sleeping, like the other night, oh my god, it was so bad last night. Me and mum was asleep, we heard the gate go outside. Straight away, I'm up. This was like 3 o'clock in the morning. Straight away, I'm up thinking, what's happened? You know, I'm thinking there's going to be someone in the garden. So you, like, because I'm like my mum, she's like she's 72.
Yeah.
And my dad's like nearly 80. He's 80 in March, actually. So they're older. And so I'm like, apart from the kids, which I protect them anyway, I'm like the man of a house and got to, you know, sort of look after stuff, if that makes sense. So I was like going downstairs last night and thinking, right, I'm expecting someone in the garden and stuff like that. But nobody there, it's probably just a cat that jumped on it. But when it was just something like that, and it scares you. So when that ends up happening, straight away you'll be like constantly thinking, God, you know, that is going to be him, you know. So you just never relax. And when you've got PTSD, I mean, I had it where I was back. I mean, I talk about having post-traumatic stress disorder. It does not bother me at all. It is what it is. I'm not surprised with what happened and what have you. And I've got like severe anxiety, I had to get retested actually. So it turns out I've got severe PTSD and severe anxiety.
Yeah.
And I was finding that, you know, lockdown, that affected it last year. So I felt like I was starting to lose a plot in July last year. And it was best way of describing it is, have you ever seen the film's Final Destination?
Yeah.
Well, it was just like that. And I was scared of dying because I'm thinking, my God, I've got to be here for the children, you know, look after them. So it was this whole panic. And I was just constantly thought that I was going to die every day. Do you know, that there's something was going to happen. And like even driving in the car, do you know, if I was in the car, I'd be like, if someone would come up behind me, I'd think, oh my God, I'm going to be in a car accident. And it got really, really bad to the point where I had to go seek help over it.
Yeah.
So that was all a bit mad.
Before we finish, because it's
just kick me off because you know what I'm like. I'll talk forever.
Sorry. Here we've got a newborn grandchild that we had home delivery at the weekend. It sounds like bath times. It's all kicking off out there. But before we go, please can you just say, with your experience, what, if anyone in this lockdown is in this predicament, you know, like what can they do? What should they be looking for? And what should they do?
I think that if you see somebody who you think who are kind of experiencing it, or you've got something, then I'm always thankful in my situation. I'm so thankful that my neighbours rang for help. There's in your area, so like I'm in Doncaster, South Yorkshire, we have like Doncaster Domestic Abuse Hub. Each one you can Google like domestic abuse in your area, they can give you advice, you know, even if you're not too sure and you think, is it not, or is it just me being a bit daft? Just check, you know, and it's simple things like that that's going to, you know, make it, you know, a difference. Ring the police, that's something as well. And I mean, like, the police with me first time round was very, very good. I thought they were fantastic. I could not fault the police. Only thing that I wasn't right keen on was I had to like report it to the police, this potential of this non-breaking of the court order. And I found that communication wasn't great. Do you know, they never got back to me. And I was a bit very disappointed in them actually. And I thought, you know what, that's not so good when you're wanting to have help and then they didn't get back to you. And people have told me that they've experienced that. I actually experienced that, and it kind of, I was a bit naff with that actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, and just try and, you know, you just try and there's all sorts of different apps. I mean, one thing that I found the other day is there's like an app that you can do on your phone called Bright Sky. You can, get help on there. It's actually a weather app. There's that one, but unfortunately, apparently perpetrators know about that one, so you've got to be careful with that one. I did get another good app the other day. Nearly set the police off though. It was called Hollyguard, and I don't know if you can see it on the phone. It's called Hollyguard, and you can get that on. It's spelled HOLLIE Guard, and I got that off Play Store, and I think that's available on Apple as well. Right. And that was through Holly Goddard's charity, the girl who got stabbed in the hairdressers, and that's a security one. So if you can set it on. So if you're walking somewhere or you're at home and something's something's happening, you can just shake your phone and you can put in your reg plate, your description of what you look like and what have you. You can shake your phone and police will come.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so things like that's really, really good. So that would have, I mean, like I say, I didn't have any access to a phone, so it wouldn't have worked for me. But if you have got a phone, that would have been ideal because he had my mobile phone.
Well, what we'll do, this will probably come out in a couple of weeks. So in that time, between now and then, any links like that, we'll put them all on there so that and, I've got your new picture that you've sent to me, so I'm going to
no
put that on there. That's a nice shot. But just to finish off, I love you dearly.
Oh, you do. Oh, and also before I forget, sorry, I know you're trying to go off, but I'm still going to keep you. Sorry. When we're back to normal civilization, when we're back in a normal world, if you're ever up by my end and that, then we'll have to meet up. But also, if you ever need any help with working in one of your homeless shelters, I'd love to be able to do someone's nails, anything like that. That'd be fantastic when we're back in regular times. Once
we get out of this bloody thing, we will work together. Of course we'll work together.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm coming.
We can do this, but it's awful, isn't it?
It's just, but we will. It's holding us back. There's so many people that we want to collaborate with. Like this is a maybe it's a blessing because we wouldn't have had this time to get to know everyone and to make.
Well, this is it, and it's nice that we can do this over Zoom as well and learn. Because it was like the other day. Sorry, I knew you were trying to go, but I was doing like ghost walks in like York and stuff, like live ghost walks, and they were fabulous because I like anything creepy, and like Edinburgh and stuff. So I'm trying to do like tours of different places via Zoom, so I feel as if that's like my education is doing really well, so I'm doing things like that.
We will definitely we'll have a lovely cup of tea and we'll have a big
definitely. That's wonderful.
Well, thank you so much, and
thank you so much for having me. I forgot to say that at the start.
We'll definitely get stuff done in the future.
No problem. Lovely talking to you. Lovely seeing you. Right, see you later.